Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and today is Sunday, the 29th of September in the year 2024. September is coming to a close, and I am recording this in lovely Escazú, Costa Rica, where it's been raining most of the day, and I'm here to tell you about the week ahead. And so, the big event of the week, as you know, if you've been listening, is that we have an eclipse on Wednesday, October 2nd, which is this coming Wednesday. And this eclipse occurs at 10 degrees Libra. It is a solar eclipse, which means it's a new moon. And this is a profound eclipse because we have been in eclipse season. And there are two eclipses generally. Sometimes there's three per season. And we've already had one eclipse. And this is the second and last eclipse. And one of the reasons it's profound is because it is very close to the south node, which means that we are having a stronger eclipse than the last one. So the south node is at 6 degrees Libra. The nodes are what determines an eclipse. And this eclipse happens at 10 degrees Libra. The south node is at 6 degrees. That's 4 degrees away. That's very close. The last one was in Pisces with the sun in Virgo. And the north node is in Aries and the south node is in Libra. So they're not that close, okay? The south node really wasn't that close to the sun because they were different signs, and the north node wasn't really that close to the moon, even though it was generally considered a north node eclipse. So they were in different signs, and that's a different dynamic, okay? But it's still an eclipse. Now, without the nodes, you just have a new moon and a full moon every month. But when they are close to the node, that's what jazzes the planets, especially the moon, and wherever the moon lands is where the eclipse is. So the last one was a lunar eclipse. They were in opposition. This is a solar eclipse. They are together, the sun and the moon, that is. Okay? So right now the moon is in Virgo, and it's moving towards Libra, and it won't really get into Libra until Tuesday at 6:20 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's getting there in time for the eclipse, which is the sun opposite the moon at 2:49 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. Why else is this an intense and profound eclipse? Well, first of all, the energy has been very intense these last few days, as opposed to the last eclipse, which, remember I said last week, had a profound sense of deep peace. And I really felt that, and I felt that it was a genuinely quiet, low-key, and I remember just when I was getting ready to go to bed, because it was a couple hours before I went to bed, and I thought, wow, it's just silent. It's quiet. It's kind of, the energy was kind of gentle. It was Neptune's influence, okay? This is different. I've already noticed the energy change. Everything is kind of jazz. The sun and the moon are going to meet. They're going to be with Mercury, which is always ideas and communications flying back and forth. And I don't know about you, but for me, that has definitely been the case. Many emails, many programs, many things going on. So yes, definitely, it's been a mercurial eclipse already, and we're not there yet. The other reason this is important, this eclipse, this profound eclipse, it is the last eclipse while Pluto is in Capricorn. The last eclipse. This is the last set of eclipses in the time that Pluto has been in Capricorn, which has been since 2008. The year 2008, a long time ago, 16 years ago. This is profound, okay? So this is the last hurrah. Pluto's not really aspecting the eclipses, but they are all in cardinal signs right now. The eclipse is in cardinal signs, and Pluto is in a cardinal sign, Capricorn. But this is something that is definitely helping us usher out this era of Pluto in Capricorn. So this is one of the final moments of Pluto in Capricorn. This is the last eclipse. We had the last Mercury retrograde while Pluto was in Capricorn in August, and now we're having the last eclipse while Pluto is in Capricorn, and we are going to have, the final stationary direct of Pluto on Friday, the 11th of October. Okay, and then it's full speed ahead into Aquarius for Pluto. So, all very interesting. The new moon takes place at 10 degrees Libra. That means if you have planets at 10 degrees Libra, or 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, I would say this is going to be something you feel. If you have those around Libra, Aries, also Capricorn and Cancer. Right now, Mars is at 14 degrees of Cancer, so it's going to be a little bit of a wide square, but it's definitely juicing up the eclipse, okay? Mars is trining Saturn in a very nice way. It's moving into trine with Saturn. And so that's a positive aspect that we are going to have at 12:06 a.m. tomorrow morning Eastern Time. So that's midnight. It's about 11 p.m. my time tonight. And so Mars and Saturn are supporting one another. And that's good energy. That's very helpful. It means we can get things accomplished. So even though there have been many distractions, every time I sit down to do something, something else comes up, and this afternoon was no exception. Every time there's another distraction, I'm just like, chalk it up to the eclipse. There's a lot of things that are being left undone in my pile of work, and it's because I just can't get to it. There's so many hours in a day and so much time I have to move through these things and still handle life. So yeah, that's what's going on. So if you are having these things, fear not. It's going to end. This doesn't go on forever. Eclipses are always like this. They stir up energy. They make a lot of things happen. They create a little chaos. Libra is a sign that does not like chaos. They do not like rudeness. They do not like chaos, but they do experience a kerfuffle in a way different than the rest of us. Mars is used to that. Mars is used to a kerfuffle. Aries is used to a kerfuffle. Sun and Moon in Libra do not want a kerfuffle. They want serenity. They want peace. They want all things beautiful, all things harmonious, kind, polite, and balanced, of course. And so we move into this, and hopefully there's nothing lurking in the shadows. Libras are not the type of sign that wants a confrontation. Mars is squaring this eclipse. Perhaps there is a confrontation lurking in the shadows, and I advise you to stay clear, stay clean, stay in alignment, and if you feel a confrontation coming your way, please try to be diplomatic, okay? There may be something that shows itself, and just walk in balance, walk in duality, walk in alignment, okay? And there may be a little ouch or a little like you've been stuck with a pin or something, but just don't let it inflame you, okay? Let's just keep moving and find the serenity in these moments. So, yes, serenity can be happening during an eclipse. We had it last time. So this is a different serenity than Pisces serenity is a different serenity than Libra serenity, okay? So one is an air sign, so they want to feel balanced in mind and thought. And the other is a water sign, which is they want to feel at peace, okay? Emotionally at peace. The other thing is that one of the points of the zodiac that is going to be triggered by this eclipse is 25 degrees fixed. And so we want to stay aware of that if we have planets at 25 degrees fixed. If I have an ascendant at 24 and change fixed. And so if you take your time and look at your chart, just notice if that's a point you have, whether you have a 25 degree fix, that would be Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, or Scorpio. And in the sky now, we have Uranus. And Uranus is at 26 degrees of Taurus. It's retrograde, so it's moving back to 25, okay? Now you might say, well, it's 26, almost 27. It's close enough. So Uranus is in the sky the same time the eclipse, and then there might be a little bit of a jazz from Uranus, okay? So we've got a little Mars, we've got a little Uranus. If you have something at those degrees, you are getting Uranus anyway, and so you're feeling a little jazzed anyway. But what you want to do is, again, stay in alignment. Do not let this get under your skin. And stay true to yourself. Don't react. I think that Uranus and Mars, even though they're not directly on top of the eclipse, they can get triggered and we can react. And the best thing to do right now is to not really allow the reaction. It's not something you want to bring into an eclipse, because eclipses escalate things in a matter of seconds. It just gets zoomed up, and how we can become affected and agitated and aggravated in a matter of seconds. So it really is something you want to keep an eye out for, okay? And just remember, there's Mars and there's Uranus, and just think, Deb said not to react, okay? We want to get through this. Now, eclipse events, it finishes on Wednesday, and that eclipse occurs, like I said, at 2:49 p.m. Eastern Time. But the eclipse energy will stay with us for a few days, and then what we're going to see is the eclipse period. The season of the eclipse will end in 2 weeks with the next lunation, and that is a full moon on October 17th in Aries. Okay, that's 24 degrees Aries, but you don't have to think about that because we are watching the eclipse energy leave at that point. So sometimes there's one last hit when that lunation occurs, but generally we're done and we can say, thank goodness, okay, we're finished, and we don't have to go back for that energy, and no more eclipses for the rest of the year. And so I always advise people to be careful during eclipses, because this is when we are going too fast. This is when we are moving too fast, and we have maybe a little accident. We are speaking too fast and we say something we can't take back. We are going, just generally our mind is going, and we don't sleep properly and stuff. So this is something where you want to be very conscious of and focused on what you need to handle and what is emotional and that you don't want to engage in, okay? You just keep going without a lot of hysteria, okay? So Libras don't like hysteria. They like nice, calm, serene, harmony. Okay, so moving forward, we have Venus, who's in Scorpio, making a trine to Saturn. And so that's interesting because Mars is in Cancer making a trine to Saturn. And Mars won't be so far away from that trine. It's making the exact trine in the wee hours tomorrow, as I mentioned earlier. But this will make a grand water trine. That's very smooth. That's very balanced. And I think it will help balance this eclipse energy. It's water, it's emotions, it's feelings. So Mars, who likes to get agitated and wants a good fight every now and again, is squaring the eclipse. But he's trining Saturn, which is sort of mellowing out the whole story. And then Venus is going to come in and trine Mars and trine Saturn. And we are in a grand water trine. So this is very nice. And that's going to happen on Friday when Venus trines Saturn at 1:04 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Venus will actually not trine Mars till Tuesday the 8th, which is a week and a half away. But that's okay because she's still within orb, and Saturn and Mars and Venus will all be within orb, or the degree of exactitude. They are very close to one another. So this is a balanced emotional experience. And it also helps relationships, because when you think about Venus and Mars, of course, it's the masculine-feminine dynamic, but the polarities will be in balance with Saturn, which is about karma and some destiny, but also it's about duty and responsibility and commitment. So I think it's a stabilizing aspect that we're getting, this nice grand trine in water, and they're all sort of moving together in these water signs: Mars in Cancer, Venus in Scorpio, Saturn in Pisces. And so we can hopefully use this energy to tone down any reactions we might have to the eclipse. Like I said, you might still have reactions on Friday. Usually the days following are still a little bit jazzed from the eclipse. But by the time we get to next weekend, I don't expect that to be happening, okay? So that's part of it. Now, anything that rolls across your email, your desk, your telephone can be a subject or a topic of reaction. So you want to take everything with a grain of salt. And if it's very serious, then you handle it. And you just sort of calm yourself and handle it. If it's something that someone is provoked or irritated, just, be diplomatic and then just move on. Okay, the idea here is not to get caught up in anything that is potentially inflammatory. All right, so eclipses are naturally inflammatory, but eclipses also indicate something is not going to be the same. So when we have an eclipse at the South Node, there's usually something we're releasing, we're letting go of, we are no longer interested in, we are moving to a different area of our lives. There's a shift happening so that we are really just in a new place after the eclipse. It doesn't mean the world is ending. The world is not ending, although Pluto might convince you or try to convince you that it is, but it's not, okay? The world is not ending. We are going on. It's just that something may happen that changes the course and the direction of our life a little bit, or something is kind of final. People are moving on with their lives. They get engaged. They're getting married. They're having a baby. Those kinds of things are normal, happy events, right? And they shift the course of our lives. If you're a parent and your child gets engaged, you're like, well, we're having a new family member, and then maybe more little ones to come. So it's that kind of especially in Libra. You might hear people getting divorced. You might hear people getting engaged, getting married, all of those things. But there's a lot happening around eclipses. It all sort of happens at once, right? So we want to think that we're moving into a better place that's a little more permanent for the moment. Permanent is relative, but we are in the final eclipse, like I said, of Pluto and Capricorn. And so I expect there to be some real perceptions of things that won't be the same afterwards. And so I don't think it's going to be bad. I just think it's going to be different. And, eclipses are complicated. We do have complicated emotions. We have a lot going on. And it doesn't feel, I always think that, let's just get to the eclipse so we can get some sleep. Because there's always things rattling in the night, thoughts rattling in the night, emotions rattling in the night, things that are presented to us that might make us agitated or triggered. Okay, so we've got some triggers this eclipse. Mars is squaring the eclipse. Uranus is in a configuration like a semi-square with the eclipse, and we are leaving behind Pluto and Capricorn, and this is the last eclipse during Pluto and Capricorn. A lot going on. So I think this is more intense. It's closer to the South Node. We are gaining some new things. They'll always be new. It's always a new trail, a new journey that we're on, and closing another journey. So you got to think of it as a positive sense, okay? The other thing that we have going on, tomorrow the Sun and Mercury conjunct in the sign of Libra. So that's at 5:09 p.m. Eastern Time. They are conjunct just before, a couple days before the eclipse. Mercury is part of the eclipse, so that the Sun coming into contact with Mercury is normal for right now. The Moon won't really conjunct Mercury until a few hours after the eclipse, okay? The Sun is getting there first because it's the slower moving planet. The Moon kind of whisks in and touches the Sun. So it's Sun, Mercury, lots of ideas, lots of communication, lots of things flying back and forth, stuff that, pops up in your email and things that you have to deal with. So communications. The other thing is that the Sun crossed over the South Node earlier this weekend, and it is definitely sort of swinging open the door to the eclipse, because it doesn't have to exactly be there aligned with the node. And it's just in the place where it's passed over it. So there may have been some openings of the door, awareness of energies getting more intense. In fact, Mercury will cross over the south node, and it's there right now. So as the Sun and Mercury conjunct tomorrow, between now and tomorrow afternoon, that Mercury, and in this region of the world, the Sun and Mercury will have both passed over the south node and really starting to get us to see some components of the eclipse as if we don't already. But the south node is where old habits die hard. And that's why when I say things may be different and we're not going back, is because south node says you can't keep having this gratification. You can't keep having it. You have to go in the direction of the north node, no matter where they are in the zodiac. Okay, so a lot of times the south node is in a place during the eclipse that we want to get gratified, an area where we want to get gratified. And the south node is in Libra, which is about collaboration, partnership, connecting with other people, where Aries is more solitary and independent. And sometimes we have to do our collaboration and then bounce back to our independence when the nodes are in these signs. Nodes are always opposite one another. They are an axis, always. And so the energy of the south node, there may be a point during the eclipse, and this is very important, there may be a point where you are trying to grasp at something and you can't get it. Okay? That is part of the south node. That's part of the experience of the eclipse, that you feel this loss of gratification on some level. You feel this loss of being satisfied, or what you think is going to give you satisfaction, because the south node is tricky like that. And an eclipse at the south node is tricky. It means that we think we're going to get gratified or satisfied by something, and it eludes us. It never really satisfies us. We get it, and then we go, meh. So Libra loves beautiful things. So if you're out shopping and you spend a lot of money on something, and you get it home and you're like, meh, that's definitely a symptom of this eclipse. And so we want to just be aware of that. You are trying to go in the direction of fulfillment, which is the north node, which is Aries, which is not necessarily being satisfied by a person, another person could be that, because Libra is always about me and you, okay, or a beautiful thing. We may have expectations of another person that are impossible for that person to fulfill, because the south node is like a vortex. It's a sinking hole. It's like you're trying to get something. You're trying to get blood from a rock. You're trying to get love from a rock, especially in Libra. You're trying to pull that person or experience in. You want support from someone who's not giving it to you. There may be that. There's that, nah, what happened? I thought you were my partner. I thought you're going to support me on this, and they're just not there. Now, maybe they can't be there because they're away right now. Maybe they emotionally can never be there. And sometimes if the eclipse is serious enough for you and your chart and the experiences you're having in your life, you may look at this and say, I can't rely on that person. I can't rely on this because they are just not there. They've vanished on some level. So this is something significant. This is something we want to be aware of, because we see that the partner or the other person in question has not given us what we were expecting of them. Expectations. I could do a whole podcast just about expectations, but expectations are not necessarily going to be gratified with an eclipse at the south node in Libra. Somebody might be disappointed. Someone might feel you didn't live up to their expectations. And that's maybe not your problem unless, you promised somebody something and you said you would do it and you didn't. So there's the level of expectations that we need to be aware of and mind our expectations, and don't put them in the stratosphere about somebody, And also that south node is, I want this from you. I want this from you. And maybe you cannot get that from the person. So it's good to keep your expectations in check, keep them realistic. Don't let them get too hungry. That south node is hungry. It's a hungry desire. It's a hungry desire that does not necessarily get gratified and fulfilled. The fulfillment point is the north node. So just keep in balance, okay? The rest of the week is fairly normal and not agitating. The only other thing is that Mercury in Libra will square that Mars in Cancer. And so that could be a little bit fiery, a little bit wordy, a little bit, I need a word with you, that kind of energy. And that's going to happen at 2:37 a.m. next Sunday, the 6th. So we have a week before that happens. And that's something that we just, again, Mercury's in Libra. It likes to be in air signs. Mercury's in Libra. Do not shoot nasty words at someone. And usually this is relatively polite. Mercury in Libra is relatively polite. So we're going to hopefully use this wisely. It's great for new ideas. Mercury and Mars can be like really a new thought, some motivation, some inspiration. Mars is fiery. It's even in Cancer, where it does not like to be. It's fiery. It does bring that fire to the picture. Okay. And one last thought about the nodes. This is the last eclipse with the nodes in Aries and Libra, because the nodes are going to change signs in January and they go backwards. So we're looking at Virgo Pisces nodes. Okay. So this is the last eclipse of its cycle. The nodes will go back in about 9.5 years, but the north node will be in Libra and the south node will be in Aries. They'll reverse. And if you know someone maybe in your family or a friend that is born about 9.5 years or so before you, their nodes, or after you, their nodes are the reverse of your nodes. So that's kind of a karmic tie. But that being said, these are the last eclipses. This is the last eclipse with the Aries-Libra axis. And then we move into Virgo Pisces, and that's a whole other big deal. Okay, so that's January. So there's a lot of endings right now. So let go, release, don't hang on, don't try to get satisfaction out of something that's not going to give you satisfaction, and step forward. Okay? If you would like a personal consultation and want to know where this eclipse is for you and where Pluto and Aquarius is for you, then certainly join me in a session. You can go to my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, and click on Book Online, and you will get a form to fill out to choose when you'd like to see me. Okay? And if you'd like to have a Reiki session with me to smooth things out over this eclipse, or to heal and clear things that are old and stagnant. We clear up stagnant energies with Reiki. Certainly also click Book Online and you can find my Reiki offerings. I teach the Reiki as well. I'm going to have some exciting news about my holographic system, New Vision, in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that, because we've got good, juicy things happening for everyone. And I'll probably tell you more about that next week. So in the meantime, I wish you a beautiful week. I thank you for listening. Gratitude to each and every one of you. And have an incredible, beautiful solar eclipse.